Welcome back. You're tuned into India Today, and we will get you more on that big story about just how 5 categories will be allowed to use the red beacon. The President, the Vice President, the Chief Justice of India and the Lok Sabha Speaker who will be allowed to use the red beacon. I'm going to just get in now Subhash Kashyap, who's a constitutional expert. Mr. Kashyap, good afternoon. What do you make of crackdown with the government making it absolutely clear that only these 5 categories will be allowed to use the red beacon? Is this because of the rampant violation of the red beacon rule?
I think it should be widely welcomed.
Yes.
In a republic, we are supposed to be under the Constitution. There should be no privileged class. And I think this beacon light business at the union level and much worse at the state level. So I think it should be widely welcomed, and it's a step in the right direction.
You're calling this a step in the right direction, but sir, you know, there have been many times when a lot of senior ministers and bureaucrats have violated the rule, and law enforcement agencies have only acted as mute spectators to the blatant violation of these rules. Shouldn't the government also specify a penalty for the misuse of this rule?
Well, if the law is violated, there are already provisions for law taking its own course. If the law is not implemented, that is a dereliction of duty on the part of the officers concerned.
Right. All right, sir. Thank you so much. We also have with us senior lawyer Hari Salve now on the phone line. Sir, good afternoon. Thank you so much. We've just heard, this new rule from the government making it very clear that only 5 categories will be allowed to use the red beacon. This despite the rampant violation of the rule that we have seen in the past. Your response?
Well, I'm proud that the government has done it. I'm delighted that the government has done it. There is an element of personal vindication. This is exactly what I had argued in the Supreme Court. I had argued in the court that it must be limited to those who symbolize the state. High constitutional functionaries. It is not a symbol of a person's importance. It's a symbol of India. So there are the Speaker of India, the President of India, the Chief Justice of India. They symbolize the state. For the others, this must stop. And I am personally today very happy that if the court did not accept what I suggested, the government has accepted what I suggested and come up with exactly a notification on exactly those lines.
Absolutely.
So I salute the government. I salute the government for what they have done. And I think the fact that the government has done it will have a cathartic effect. Everybody now will fall in line. I am reasonably certain.
So that's a very pertinent point that you made about a notification that needs to be issued, because in the past we have seen that there has been violation of the red beacon rule. What kind of steps can be taken against violators or those flouting the norm? Shouldn't there also be a penalty for those flouting the rule?
The biggest penalty for those who flout this will be exposing them to the public. This decision will touch the heart of the people. If a person in public life, if a person who is not in public life uses it, it is a plain simple fraud, and the police will deal with them. But if a person in public life who is a part of the government, and today the biggest governments are of the same political party as in the union, if a person in public life disrespects this and continues to use these symbols of feudalism, it will expose him as to what kind of a person he is. And he will pay the biggest penalty. He will pay a political price penalty.
But sir, do you think that would act as a deterrent? And correct me if I'm wrong.
The biggest deterrent today for a politician is not a challan given by a police officer.
But the challan is also is of just 100 and 300 rupees, isn't it, sir, under Section 177?
It's a 50,000 rupee challan.
Okay.
Or 2 minutes on India Today of being named and shamed, which hurts more.
Right, sir. So I just want to understand from you this rule that, you have wholeheartedly welcomed, and even Mr. Subhash Kashyap has done the same. Does this apply only to states or across the country?
I believe this is the union government's notification. Once it is by the union government, the states will have to fall in line.
Right, sir. So what next steps can
And if
we...
they don't believe me, that's my next BIL.
So what can we expect the government to do next, sir?
I think the government has done all that it needs to do.
Right.
These are matters also of our conscience. Everything in a democracy is not achieved through the danda of the courts. People must have some conscience, and today, if the common man is delighted at this decision, I as a common citizen of India am delighted at this decision.
But sir,
I would hate a politician who violates this.
Tragically and unfortunately, sometimes you need that danda to awaken the conscience in a person.
Today, the biggest danda is name and shame, public exposure. You know better than I do. Today, people are more scared of the TV camera than a gun. People in public life.
Right, Mr. Harish Salve, thank you so much, and you have also welcomed the move by the government. Brijesh, you were telling us about the meeting that is scheduled to take place at about 2 p.m. and that's when the finer modalities of the rule will also be made public. But this is big, you know, the 5 categories that has been laid down by the government, only those 5 categories who would be allowed to use the red beacon.
Well, the thinking in the government is that, you know, it is following up on what it had said initially, that, you know, that this is going to be a government of less government and more governance. And they feel that, you know, that if the government is very keen to do away with the VIP culture, the date of the implementation, which is the 1st of May, which is a Labor Day, is full of symbolism in itself. And the fact that, you know, that the government has decided to do away, apart from people who are holding constitutional authorities, which is the President, Vice President, Speaker, Chief Justice of India and the Prime Minister of India. So it will in one fell swoop do away with the menace of Lal Batti culture, which we have witnessed so many times in our lifetime, and, you know, which has been a cause of great menace. So that is the reason why this move by the government will be hugely welcomed by the people at large, because, you know, we have seen how people have suffered whenever there is a movement of any high-profile politician or a minister, and how the whole traffic would come to, or the whole city would come to a standstill because that concerned person would be passing through. So with this doing away with the Lal Batti, the red beacon, you know, the government has in one fell swoop made it clear that, you know, that they are a government which wants to do away with this whole VIP culture.
No, absolutely. And one is hopeful, Brijesh, that this also corrects, you know, the kind of arrogance that is exhibited by a few ministers of prominence, or those, you know, who hold some senior posts, or even bureaucrats, Brijesh. You know, there are states like Maharashtra, even bureaucrats were using red beacons, if I'm not mistaken.
No, but then, you know, there are various beacons, and you know, once you reach up to a certain level in bureaucracy, you are entitled to use a red beacon. But you know, there are individual people who do not use it. But then there are people who are found misusing it. Usually, a red beacon has now come to be associated with with a vagrant use of, you know, abuse of power rather than anything else. And this particular decision by the government, because if the minister is not using, then there is no chance that any bureaucrat is going to use. And with these 5 authorities, only these 5 constitutional personalities being allowed to use a red beacon, it will definitely do away with a VIP culture which we are so used to, and it will be a welcome step as far as the public is concerned. Vantika.
All right, Brijesh, thank you so much for joining us.